All right, Warriors of National Guard recruiting. We have the great pleasure to have some high-speed soldiers from the Iowa Army National Guard Recruiting Battalion. We have First Sergeant Howard, Staff Sergeant Landers, and Staff Sergeant Green. And what we're going to talk about is the fitness challenge that the Iowa Army National Guard does. We see a lot about it on Facebook. So we want to figure out what this event is all about. So I'm going to make it easy, at least for me, and say I only have 3 questions to ask, and I think it's the same question that anybody listening would ask. Who came up with the idea? How do you put this thing together? Because it looks really big. And what kind of results do you get out of it? And I'll turn it over to you, First Sergeant and Staff Sergeants, and we'll listen to how this event goes.
Awesome. Thanks, Sergeant Major, for hosting us, for asking us, to share our story. So the fitness camp is something that I had created back when I was a recruiter in Fairfield back in 2014. Started off with a 5-day model. We reduced it down to a 4-day model over the time, but just came up with an idea to try to get students in our armory during the summertime. How do we engage our target market during the summertime? And that's what the idea came from. And the whole purpose of the fitness camp is the motto is training for life. And so what we wanted to do was try to advertise a leadership camp within our leaders of the National Guard, bring together schools from teams from different schools all to one location and work together to try to improve readiness for the students, improve their resiliency, improve their knowledge, and then also just try to focus on giving back to them, giving them a free camp that focuses on leadership. And so the model is a 2-hour model, 4 days a week. We do back-to-back camps here, one in Middletown and then one in Fairfield next week. We're on day 2 right now. We just wrapped up today for Middletown. This is our 12th camp that we've hosted over the years. So pretty excited about that. So with me, I've got one of my senior recruiters, Staff Sergeant Green, and he's done several fitness camps. So if you just want to give your perspective of, what you've got from it.
Absolutely, First Sergeant. So actually my first day of ADOS was coming to day 1 of fitness camp. Didn't know what to expect for recruiting, didn't know what to expect for the event I was walking into. There's people all over. It seems like madness as a new guy walking in, and it's very orchestrated. It's very I mean, there's a lot of thought behind it, a lot of process. There's a lot in the training schedule. I mean, it's down to every minute in that 2-hour window. 10 minutes before we start playing videos to capture attention. And then at 9, we're starting. So from 9 to 11 is the actual camp. We do a workout that every day we do a workout that pushes them past their comfort zone. Seems kind of like a crazy workout that you typically probably wouldn't just go out and do, but you got people encouraging each other, bring it back in. You got a guest speaker, water break real quick, and then we go back out and we do some type of team builder, and that's kind of like a rough shell of it. And then at the end, we bring everybody together, and we do some raffle stuff for the day, some swag items to just keep that brand going. Keeps kids coming back for wanting more. But the relationships you build here, you're not hardcore recruiting at the event. You're building those relationships. It's a soft approach to talk to kids, as some kids find the uniform very abrasive or scary to approach. So it's a way that everybody looks the same, and you're all working out together. You're all pushing through together, and you see those kids later on at schools, and they're wearing the guard or that shirt from the camp. Coaches appreciate what you're doing to build their programs. So all around, it pays with COIs, VIPs, and it also pays with the student themselves. So.
And then so Staff Sergeant Landers has been on for 1 year now. He started ADOS and went right into fitness camp as well. So actually now hearing that, like, maybe that's the secret. Trial by fire.
Yeah.
Come in to get going. Gotta do it, I guess. But your perspective from being newer in it.
As far as like when you kind of get in front of kids in summer, like they kind of tap that pretty hard. I would say it also is a huge COI builder for local law enforcement, firefighters. All those people have been coming for, the ones I've met have been coming for 6 to 8 years. The kids love it. They bring out the fire trucks. They bring out the police, bring out all their vehicles. So, I mean, you're getting community involvement and people that are going to help push these. And they're not just hearing the guard story, they're hearing community leader stories, they're hearing first responder stories. Like they said, getting in front of the coaches see the value in it, and then they come back. I mean, the main things, of course, getting in front of your target audience in the summer, which is tough. I found out recruiting for my first year. But yeah, I think today had about 70 some kids, and the day before had about 70 some kids. And that's not including like fire department bringing their kids, police department bringing their kids, coaches bringing their kids. So, I mean, yeah, to get a bunch of people together in the summer and hear the guard message almost like subliminally, because they're hearing it from other people, it's been pretty awesome for me as a first year recruiter.
Good deal. Well, it kind of strikes me that the approach of getting teams and whatnot from schools to attend, because it's a natural thing that you're going to do a camp in the summer if you're involved in a sport, almost anyone. So that's a smart way to operate. And I would imagine that the community that this event is in cannot help but take notice of it. Like everybody around knows you got a lot of people doing that thing.
Yeah, so today, prior to COVID, we had about 225 participants, students, high school students. And with that comes a bunch of coaches. We used to be over 300 people, 320, 350 of people all in one armory, which is huge for the town we're in. And then COVID happened, and now we're on the rebound of that. And it's super exciting to see yesterday on the first day back of doing this, the 80% of the people here have never been to fitness camp before. And so having community members that love it, and they come all the time. We've got coaches that have never been here. We've got first, second year coaches that have never heard about it. And now it's new to them. And so that's exciting to see that new era, that new wave coming in. The community just embraces it and looks forward to it. And that's really the key of longevity of a program. And that's how we've had 12 of them is students are going to come and go. Coaches are going to come and go. But if you can build those key impact COIs that are going to be your extenders out in the community, to know that it's a professionally ran event. You're not there to just recruit them. You're there to share a leadership story, and that you're there to really preach the message of camaraderie, teamwork, and not just talk about it, but we live it. When you've got, we have about 30 soldiers come and going each day that are cadre, that are helping out, and that's with 3 different units. And so that's now tying into retention. That's tying into telling their story. You can either go do an AT in the field for 5 days, or you could come here. And so we want the best of the best. And so we're going to bring we handpick those soldiers. We want them to come here, and maybe they're getting a little burnout on their leadership or whatever it may be, but they come here. You can't but be positive, with the positivity that's around here. And that positivity just breeds more positivity, which then in turn gives us productivity. And that's the most exciting part, is when our centers of influence come to us and say, man, you guys are so positive and you work like a well-oiled machine. It's evident that you rehearse, that you talk about it, that you've planned, you've prepared, and that you've got a lot of time invested in this. And so that to us really sells it to us of like, well, we'll do this again. We're already talking next year, 2024. We have day 3 and 4 tomorrow here. We have Fairfield next week, and we're already talking, what are we doing in 2024? And so that's super exciting for us, is, knowing that we'll close out mission with this camp. And that's what we got to do.
Well, what's interesting to me is over the last probably 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, a lot of recruiting battalions have started to do annual training periods. And to me, this is the kind of annual training period that would be really useful for a recruiting battalion. And it builds the team in that way. So what I'm curious about is that question number 2, how do you put this whole thing together, bringing people in from the community and getting all the shirts and orchestrating the schedule and refreshments and all of those things? What does that take?
Go ahead.
So last year we just got it back in Fairfield. We were going to do it in 20, but the COVID hit, so we had to take a year off to pause on that. I was lucky and fortunate because I had a shell of what was done in Middletown here, so I was able to see it. So it's really One, I just resourced a couple of the people that already knew what it used to be like in Fairfield, and I said, "Hey, I'm bringing this back. We want to bring it back here for the Fairfield community." And last year was our first year back. We had a school that had never participated in it before show up. So the first person I went straight to the principal. I had a really good relationship with the principal, and I had a really good relationship with the athletic director. So I would talk to them and said, "Hey, this is what my thought is. This is what we've been doing. It's a really good thing going over here. I want to bring it to you guys so you don't have that travel time and a missed opportunity to get kids out of the house and do something." Once I got the top layer understanding and bought into it, then I approached the coaches. Actually had an AD who brought me in, and I talked to all the coaches of the school. He gave me as much time as I wanted to basically brief what the camp looked like, the whole thing, what's the perks, what's the pros and cons of it all. It talked about everything that we do and how we have guest speakers from not just us or just their school, but other schools. So the message, they're hearing something the same from somebody different. It's kind of like listening to your mom and dad, but somebody else tells it to you and it clicks. So you reach out, and then it's a lot of strategy with Facebook and constant flooding. It's working. At first, Arms had a great show of showing us like, "Hey, you've got to be doing this and this. You got to post, when you're a month out, you're 3 weeks out, you're starting your countdown piece." Getting those people excited and you're giving them videos and pictures from the year before, a couple years before, and you're putting it out there and showing them what it is, so they kind of understand a little bit of what to expect. And then they get there that first day. Anybody that's new obviously is going to be timid because they're going into a government building. We open the doors, welcome them in, bring them in, everybody's smiling, high-fiving, shaking hands, whatever. And that first day with that great experience is buy-in for return. Because if they have a really poor first day, they're probably not coming back day 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to get them back next year. So I think you have to rehearse, you have to schedule, you have to prepare. There's a lot of thought process to it, but it's also a lot of just relationship building while you're there and making them feel welcome and thankful that they are there.
And I would say one of the things that we do extremely well, that other teams should emulate, is we are very, very deliberate about every effort that we make. Everything that we do, it has a deliberate result. We're not going to do it if it doesn't have a result that impacts our mission, and that's the sessions. And so when that comes down to it, in order to have a good event, you have to backwards plan. And within that backwards plan, you have to have a long-term plan, which is we already know when we're doing it next year. And then our midterm plan is when we're about 8 months out is when we are initiating IPRs at the battalion and the MSE level so that we can get some key leaders from the Iowa National Guard to come in here. We could hear our story. We're all recruiters. What we want is somebody else to come in and tell their story. We want civic leaders. We want community leaders. We want school leaders, and we want Iowa National Guard leaders to come in and tell their story. Come in and let them see what somebody else looks like. Hear their story of resiliency or perseverance or struggle. If they hear that, we don't even talk about the Guard. Everybody else does. And when our superintendent will close out this week, a school superintendent, he'll have the strongest National Guard pitch of the week. And it's a school superintendent who's not in the National Guard. But just because we know that excitement builds up and he sees just that love and joy that we have to give back to students, his way to give back to us is to help build our organization. And so we do rehearse it. We prepare everything. We have a lot of historical documents. We AAR everything. Every day is an AAR as soon as we're done. And then tomorrow morning is a rehearsal. Rehearse everything, right? If you just do what the Army's taught you to do, this thing works seamlessly. And I'm super blessed to have a team of phenomenal NCOs. The entire team steps in. And so while a couple of them are NCICs of the event, the entire team's here. And so we're still writing contracts. We got somebody at MEPS today. Well, we got somebody helping out, right? Cuba are just covering down to make that stuff happen. And just watching that as a team, as an NCIC, I didn't see that when I was a recruiter of, man, if I had the rest of my team here, how much stronger I would be. As an NCIC, I see it that not everybody's great at everything. right? I mean, Sergeant Landers is a fitness freak, loves it, goes out there grinding the whole time. Well, not everybody can run as fast as that. So it's good to let your teammates know, like, hey, man, I got this. You cover down on this. You take photos here, and I'm going to go work on this. Or I relate to this type of kid, and you work on this kid. And now you got 10 of us, and we're all targeting everybody. And so, man, that's what I love about it. But it really comes down to being deliberate about the efforts.
Well, I think from your position, First Sergeant, this is a measure of professional development.
Absolutely.
You know, you got a big problem and your soldiers have an opportunity to do some of the stuff that the Army has trained them to do that you normally don't get to do in recruiting. It also strikes me is usually during this time of year, we go to a lot of fairs and we go to a lot of community events and we set up our little tent and we try to put a really good display there, and really old people and really young people come there. And so we spend a lot of man minutes doing that with not that great of results. So an event like this, you can see what kind of results you would get, even if it wasn't pure accessions, that principals, coaches, teachers, community leaders are having positive things to say about the National Guard. But from an accession standpoint, because that's why we do this stuff, what can you expect out of this 4-day event for your team?
Yeah, good question. We average about 10 to 12 accessions from this event every year. Now, the more people every other year is different. Sometimes you have years where you have a whole lot of people, but there's a whole lot of mandatory football teams. And, you know, what we have seen is it depends on what teams are here. Volleyball teams traditionally join. Track teams, cross-country teams, they traditionally join. Those are typically athletes we're not in front of. And so it is, and we all know that they're fit. And so this year, man, I don't know. I think this year could be exponentially larger than others because we have such a fit group of an unorthodox participant level than we've had before.
We've got some baseball teams that are bought in.
Yeah.
Typically baseball teams are a really hard team to get to come to these. And there's 3 of them every year to do. So that's impressive.
What is
so? So we like I said, I think that on average we should average about 10 from here. We don't know yet for next week. We're anticipating though that not only will we close out our team mission, but we're going to start the new year off with a bang with this type of event, because we know Genesis and everything else, everything we're doing in June isn't really benefiting June. We're working for July and August now. And so, you know, we're super excited for that. And like you said, school's out. What else are we going to do? You could go sit in the office or you go work out together, go through some workouts together, and what we like to do anyway. So
what does it cost the battalion to put this on? Like a dollar figure?
So on average, this year, I would say around about $3,500, roughly.
Is that with our donations?
No.
You're just support wise.
Yeah.
Because
not counting ADOS or anything else, just monetary, like of what we spend in things, about $3,500 for the 2 weeks.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and so we have a lot of in-house stuff. Now, one of the things that we do is, since we can't purchase T-shirts, we are very fortunate that we have a great relationship with a business owner that buys the T-shirts every year for us. And so we partner with Iowa Workforce Development as well. And so Iowa Works sponsors 50% of the T-shirts, and then Wheaton Companies sponsors the other 50% of the T-shirts, so that we can give these gifts to these kids, so that every participant gets a T-shirt. And so financially, then we don't have to deal with the burdens of what that's going to cost us in AGOs and, you know, what's legal as a gift, what's not. So we're very fortunate for that, because that's usually our biggest expense of about $4,000. And those two entities generously sponsor that. They put their logo on the T-shirt. They're here to help. You know, they talk. They're here to participate with us. So that's always awesome. We have that as well. But yeah, it's actually the cheapest event. We could even go cheaper, you know, financially, if you didn't get as elaborate as we do. But we have a full-blown production. I sent you some videos and, you know, some different things. Like, you know, we've got an amazing digital creator who's going to school for that, a young specialist who's done it now for 3 years. I mean, he's amazing at it. That's what he loves to do. He's a combat engineer in the National Guard, but is going to school to be a digital creator. We're like, dude, come here and do this. Like, we don't know what we're doing. You capture all these pictures of us and you put this together and you play some music that we don't like, but these kids like it, you know? And so that's cool. It's just, you know, really pushing those experts to do what they can do within the house. And that saves us money as well. But you said we spend a lot of money at different things with way less return. Sergeant Landers said within one of his first months, he's like, man, if I don't have to be a carny and I can just write contracts with fit people, I'm going to do that. So that's the way you figured that out quick.
Well, you had mentioned, and I'm just kind of curious about this, is this has become an Iowa National Guard thing, not just the recruiting battalion thing. So you're working with major subordinate commands in the state. What level of support are you getting for that? And was it always there to do that?
Yeah, good question. We've today, the support we have now, I don't think anybody tells us no on anything. So that is unique to have. But the first couple of years, I didn't really know. I mean, I was an E7 recruiter. I didn't know, you know, we didn't know what the shell was. Fortunately, I was partnered with a gentleman who is now our battalion commander. Lieutenant Colonel Stanford is our battalion commander now. So he does fully support it, but he also helped create it in 2014 when he was a captain in the engineer battalion as an OIC. And so back then it was kind of a battle. It was kind of a battle to get all that other stuff involved. I used to say it was always more work to get our guest speakers than it was to actually get the schools here. Wow. And then it just kind of caught on. Sergeant Major of the Army Daly was here. We used to have WCAP soldiers here. Now financially we can't get WCAP soldiers here, which I think is a miss. I'm hoping that eventually comes back around, that the Army World Class Athlete Program sees the value in this. I have one of their former soldiers that's a recruiter for me, and she's here. You know, we have another young lady who's an athlete that's going to go to WCAP eventually, and she's here working it with us right now. So, you know, I think WCAP's going to see the value in this eventually again and find a way to fund it. But yeah, other than that, we always have found within the last 6 years, we have had a great amount of success with people just saying, yeah, whatever you need, because they know we're invested. They know it's a professional program. But I guess I can't think back that long ago of people telling me no.
Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you guys on is I just believe this in the current operating environment, that we're way better off doing our own events. And even if it's less people, there'll be more productive events. Mm-hmm. You know, your state fair probably has 50,000 people a day, but you're not going to write a lot of contracts off of the state fair. I know you're not going to get out of going to the state fair. That's not going to happen. Don't complain about it, because I made that mistake and I was running that sucker for 2 years. So, but getting recruiters out there to think of what their thing is going to be and just take the leap and do it. And even if you only got 10 people there for a day for your event, you probably get an enlistment out of it. It's the right 10 people.
Absolutely.
So that's why I think it's so powerful. But when folks listen to this or see this, they'll say, well, do you guys have SOPs and timelines and things that we could access? Who could they reach out to?
Yeah, absolutely. They can always reach out to me. I have all the shells of that. I have the shells of what the timelines look like. We have the shell, and right now Des Moines doing one as well. The same time we are, they're using the same shell we are. You know, of 09 to 11 is what we have found work the best for schools. It's the best for buses to be able to get students. So they meet at 8:15 at the school. They bring them here. The bus drops them off, and then they go back and they're able to feed the kids lunch, depending on your school district. But if you're in a high poverty school district, that school district gets funds to be able to feed those kids lunch. That's another opportunity to feed those kids those athletes, those students that they might not have had before. So that kind of works in great with that from that 09 to 11. And we are all very, very deliberate about the time hack that we have to be done by 11. We want the bus back on the road. These kids need to go back to what they're doing at a decent time. So, but yeah, we would be happy to share that. I have all of that as well. So,
And well, I ended up asking a few more questions than I was expecting. I have one more. What made you pick this time of year? Like right when school has gotten out or getting out?
just we used to do it in August, right before coaches could contact their students, could have contact with students, and then that didn't really work out as well because it was too late in the year. It was, well, in August, we're already trying to focus on what are we doing to get back into schools, things like that. Then we tried it in July. Well, a lot of people go on vacation in July, so that didn't really work out. And it's hot in the Midwest in July, hot and humid. So that was even more of a danger, more of a safety risk. And then we just talked like, hey, when does school get out? Predominantly in Iowa, schools are done by around Memorial Day. Give the kids a week, 2 weeks, give the coaches a week, 2 weeks away from their kids, let them get back into it. But then they get right back into the gym. They have their summer workout plans. They started this week. And so that's what gave us this 2 week period of time of let's get right back into it right away. And then whatever we do have here, let's build those new relationships. Let's figure out what administrators have left, what coaches have left. It's the end of school year. Contracts come due in July for different school districts. So that gives us an opportunity to see who's moving around within the schools. They know best. And so that let us know in June to do that. And then anybody we meet in June, if they're high school juniors, we're not going to write them right now anyway. We're going to write them in July. We are going to need enlistments in July and August. I mean, these guys tell me that all the time.
Well, and you've had another repetition of them seeing you, and it gets kind of hinky towards the last 2 weeks of school anyway.
Right.
So you got another crack at them before they're dispersed in the summer. You got their name and contact information, and you're having contact with them. So just a lot of good stuff about this event that people could take and replicate and have it be productive for them. That's really kind of all I have for you. Unless you got something to add to it. It's a lot of good stuff there.
Just if you're going to do it, be bought into it and go all out. And the schools will see that buy-in that you have with trying to help build their programs. And it's a two-way street. And a lot of coaches understand that. They're trying to help you as you're trying to help them. 20 years ago, I heard a coach say this a while back. 20 years ago, your cutting edge was kids in the weight room. Every kid, if you can get a kid in the weight room, your team was going to be successful. Nowadays, every kid's in the weight room. The cutting edge today is building your culture, and there's no better way to build culture than somewhere that's already got positive culture. So if you can take that message and use that to help you, that's awesome. So.
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, our team rules define what we do and how we do it. And I tell everybody, it's not what we do that's different than everybody, it's how and why. And our team rules of focusing on the main thing, and that's the sessions. If we run a great event, we're going to get a sessions out of that. The more effort we put into that, more professional we are up front. How we do anything is how we do everything. And if we do that well, people will join our team. They're joining us. They're not joining the organization. They see we're professional, motivated, and excited about helping them. Then they want to join us. And so that does meet our team rule number one. Number two is no excuses. We don't want to hear that, well, I can't get it done. I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. I don't have the equipment. Just make it happen. It's ours. It's our event. And so we make that happen. Number three is work as a team. That's why the whole team's here, right? If we're going to write contracts today and do this event, we can only do that if we're a team. We can only divide and conquer if we work together as a team. Mission doesn't stop. But you got to do this event and you have to still make mission. And so we're going to work together to make that happen. And then the last one is have fun. I'm telling you, I look forward to these 2 weeks more than any other time of the year in recruiting because it's a blast. Yes, it's a lot of hours, but man, it's a ton of fun. You see the growth. I watch the growth as NCOs. I watch the growth as teammates come together and see people struggle. You see somebody that usually succeeds all the time struggling now. You're like, man, that was kind of cool to see. that's what we get excited about. Like, good, I'm glad you struggle with something, because I've been struggling every day. Like, so that is fun for us to live and embrace those team rules. And then lastly, our vision is changing lives by disrupting the recruiting norm. This isn't normal. Hasn't been normal for years. We're now in our 12th camp because it pays dividends. It pays large dividends. It's not always just about the accession. It's about changing lives. And can you change lives and build a brand of being the most trusted organization in the state of Iowa? That's what this does. This gives us that opportunity to do that.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you guys doing this, and I think a lot of states could take advantage of what you guys already built. So thanks for coming, and keep on doing what you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Sergeant Major.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good one.